The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Goodyear, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34327. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start just under the front bumper, where you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find dual air horns. Moving to the passenger side bumper face, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Moving to the driver's side face of the bumper, you'll find your mechanical siren. You'll also find side-facing emergency warning lights on the bumper extension. Here's some close-ups of the items that we just talked about: open-ended tow hooks and also your dual air horns, mechanical siren. Let's look inside. Opening both D handles will open the lid into the bumper extension area. We'll find first starting with a 20 amp electrical outlet, dry deck material inside. You'll also find your air valve shutoff and air outlet. Let's move from this location to the driver's side, where you'll find a few items for mounting. As we move to the grille itself, you'll find on the passenger and driver's side your turn marker indicator lights. Just inside of that location, you'll find your headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. Just up from that, you'll find the emergency warning light cluster. Let's move to the front of the grille, where you'll find the Pierce logo. Directly behind that is the latch for gaining entry inside the hood area, where you'll find your Goodyear Fire Department logo. As we move around now to the side of the vehicle, you'll find side-facing cameras mounted on the A pillar. We'll also move down to the steps. When opening the door going inside the cab, the steps will automatically deploy, gaining entrance into the cab area. Affixed to all door panels, you'll find these warning labels. As we move down to about the floor left foot, you'll find your air horn foot pedal and mechanical siren foot pedal. Moving up at about the left knee, you'll find your tech module plug-in location, and also the transmission, engine, ABS, and diagnostic port. On the left-hand side, it is the green cover. On the right-hand side, you'll find your display port. Let's move down, where you'll find some switches. First, starting on the left with your ABS diagnostic and engine diagnostic switches. Moving down across the very bottom, you'll find your regen inhibit switch and also DPF regen switch. Let's move up from this location, where you'll find your master battery switch. It is the red quarter turn switch. Also, to the right-hand side of the operator, right knee, you'll find your audible speaker with volume control. As we look to the seat of the driver, you'll find this warning label regarding the use of seat belts. I'd also like to direct you down to about the right ankle of the operator, where you'll find this placard, manufactured from Pierce, indicating the date of manufacture, the 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation. Also houses information here about the VIN number and all of the fluid capacities for each component and fluid capacity type. Let's move down to the right knee, where you'll find once again that speaker, allowing you to gain volume control on the far right-hand side. As we move to the left of the dash, starting at the top, you'll find your emergency hazard, start, and ignition switch. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find an EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master, activating all of your emergency lights or deactivating. Headlight switch, and also your panel rocker switch. Onto the right-hand side of the steering column, you'll find your OK to engage your high idle switch and also indicator light. Let's move to the steering wheel itself. Your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, SRS airbag. It's located inside the steering area. Let's move to the dash, where you'll find on the left-hand side your transmission oil, DEF level, and water temperature. On the right-hand side, you'll find the volts, fuel, front and rear air with your speedometer and tachometer located in the center. Information for diagnostics will display above and below the speedometer. Let's move just to the right where we'll find a full layout. We'll first start in the upper left-hand corner of the image with your system parking brake. Pull to apply and push to release. Let's move just to the right where you'll find your display. This is your command zone. Tremendous amount of information here right at your fingertips. Please see the owner's manual for more detailed information. Moving further to the right, you'll find a set of switches, and you'll also find your Allison transmission pad with an indicator to pump in neutral. It is a push-button digital transmission pad. Moving further to the right, you'll find your stationary OK to pump and roll. This is an indicator, and then also your water pump switch. Let's move downward from this location where you'll find your retarder on and off switch, a retarder auto apply future switch location, your left exhaust diverter right, and then also your off-road traction and mirror heat. Let's move from this location just on top where you'll find your mirror controls for the flat and convex mirror for passenger and driver side. You'll also find your traffic advisor located here, switch for on and off, and directional indicator. You'll also find just beneath that, you'll find your push to talk for your radio headset system and also a USB 12 volt access. On the very top placard, you'll find your generator operating instructions. As we look overhead, I'd like to direct you to the very left of the image where you'll find this yellow placard indicating the height, length, and also gross vehicle weight ratings. Moving to the right, you'll find your emergency master, roof light, front warning, and side warning. You'll also find just the next section down, which houses your lower rear warning and upper rear warning, high beam flash, and also your Opticom switch. When any of those switches have been depressed, the outer edge will illuminate. Let's move just to the right where you'll find your electronic siren, a siren brake for your mechanical siren, generator PTO, load manager, and then just beneath you'll find scene lights, which will be your front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and rear scene. Once again, any of those switches are activated, the outer edge will illuminate. As we move further to the right, you'll find your siren control module and also PA speaker system. Moving overhead, you'll find push on and off depending on the lens that you choose. It will be white or red. You'll also find in the very center this light indicating that you have a do not move your apparatus situation. You may have a compartment or door open. You'll also find a digital readout for pump pressure and then also water level. Let's move exterior now just over the driver's side tire where you'll find emergency warning light and also your auto eject plug. Let's move downward from this location to the front axle where you'll find Alcoa wheels, aluminum. You'll also find a visual sight gauge located in the center axle area. As we move to the rear cab, we'll find affixed to the door panel all of your safety and warning labels. Moving downward from this location, you'll find an LED flashing light indicating the door open for safety. And then also on the hinge side, you'll find a red grab handle for gaining access in and out of the cab. Once again, when the door is opened, the steps will automatically deploy. Let's look inside the cab here. We'll identify 4 seating in the very rear section, 2 forward-facing and 2 rear-facing seats. As we look overhead, you'll find your air conditioning unit and also push on and off red and white lens lights. You'll also find in the rear wall, you'll find your glove storage box on each side of the seat, and then at the very top section, you'll find your David Clark intercom system. Let's move down to the passenger and driver side where you'll find 12 volt via USB style access. You'll also find a tray. Underneath the tray, you'll find additional storage with netting. Let's move now to the driver's seat. Directly behind the driver's seat, you'll find a few items. First, with your plugged into shore power, your air compressor system will operate maintaining brake pressure. Also, your battery system will maintain when plugged into shore power also. As we move now to the driver's passenger seat, you'll find radio storage and also a 12 volt USB block. Let's move to the rear section of the apparatus. As we look to the rear of the engine, you'll find your access panel for gaining access into the engine area for your daily checks for oil and transmission. On each side of that, passenger and driver side, you'll find 12 volt USB access also. As we look back inside that pan door, this is once again to the rear section of the engine. You'll find your daily checks for your oil and transmission location. As we move to the side door, you'll find your LT184 unit identifier. Moving to the front officer area, you'll find the side-facing camera. Let's go ahead and go interior now. Let's take a look at the door panel. You'll find those warning labels affixed to the door panel. You'll also find your vehicles equipped with a supplemental restraint system airbag That's in the very front section. Do not mount anything within this area. Let's move back to the door panel. Once again, you'll find all of your safety and warning labels in addition with that LED light on the exterior section of the door. Once again, when the doors open, your auto steps will deploy. Let's go back inside the cab now. Take a look overhead. You'll find an intense reading light or map light directly overhead. Also, you'll find those push on and off red and white lights. And just a quick highlight, in the very center, you'll find your do not move your apparatus. You may have a compartment or door open. Moving to the left side of the officer space, you'll find your siren brake, air horn, mechanical siren, and a push-to-talk for your radio system. Let's move just inside of this location where you'll find 12-volt access via barrel style or cigarette lighter and also USB plug-in. Moving overhead into the officer space, you'll find your Bluetooth, Sirius XM CD player, AM/FM weather band radio. Just to the right of it, you'll find your front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and rear scene. Let's move exterior to the pump area. First, let's start with a few warning labels. Warning label here regarding fall, and then also a warning label here regarding caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when removing them. As we move to the very center, you'll find your large diameter pump intake, and at the very top, an override for that pump intake. As we move further down, you'll find your passenger side 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. Moving just to the right, you'll find your garden hose outlet. And then moving further to the right, you'll find your large diameter passenger side discharge. Across the very bottom, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's move now to the side. You'll find 2 LED lights for illuminating the pump area. And as we move down to the very bottom, you'll find the override here indicating for the green large diameter passenger side discharge. Also, you'll find a fold-out step in the very bottom section with a release on the right-hand side. Let's move upward from this location to the crosslay area, first starting at the very top with backboard storage and also your dead lay. There is a release mechanism for that dead lay, which allows you to remove the speed load. This is the mechanism for that. As we move to the very bottom, you'll find the number 1 and number 2 crosslay. Same thing, the mechanism to release that speed lay is down at the very bottom section. We'll now move through a compartment organization. We'll talk a little bit about some of those things. First, starting now on the passenger side, first compartment at the top, you'll find the rollers allowing the electrical cord reel to pass through. You'll also find 2 upright vertical dividers. Those dividers do have a release mechanism on the lower right-hand side for the first one and on the single divider on the very bottom section. As we look to the very top, we do have rollers here for your electrical cord reel. As we move also at the very bottom section, this is the junction box for that cord reel. There's also a reel rewind switch. This is a 200-foot cord. This is the push button for that rewind. Also, because of that electrical motor operating that rewind, we do have a breaker for that. It's just above the cord rewind. It's the small button on the very far right. This is the breaker reset. As we now move through the rest of the compartments, we'll identify items within each of those compartments. Let's move just back to the rear wheel area where you'll find 2 compartments, one in front of and one in rear of the rear axle. This is SCBA bottle storage location with retaining straps. I'd also like to point out at the very bottom, extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. That's why we have a warning label there. The compartment directly over the axle, you'll find 2 release mechanisms for the pull-out tilt downward tray. You'll also find in the upper corner in this compartment a access here for an outlet. This is a 20 amp outlet in the upper right-hand corner of the image. This will operate when plugged into shore power. Let's move now to the rear axle. Just above the rear axles where you'll find an additional SCBA bottle storage location with retaining straps and also an oxygen bottle storage. As we move down, we'll find Alcoa wheels and Michelin tires on the rear axle. Let's move from this location to the very rear compartment. You'll find LED lighting in all of your compartments, adjustable trays, and also adjustable shelves. Once again, this compartment also houses that shoreline outlet in the upper right-hand corner, 20 amp. Just a general view here of the entire side with your compartment doors in the open position. Let's move around to the very top section where you'll find side-facing scene lights, and then you'll also find emergency warning lights side-facing with your department logo, Goodyear Fire Department, and your equipment rack located above. Let's now move to the rear section of the apparatus. We'll identify a few items within this area. Starting at the rear, you'll find your brake, turn, and backup lights on the passenger and driver side. You'll also find your powered equipment rack. We do have some danger and warning information along with raise and lower instructions. You'll also find your passenger side scene lights, driver side hose bed cover, and also passenger hose bed cover. We do have a manual hand operation for your hydraulic rack. The instructions are on the inside of that door for operation purposes. As we move upward from this location, you'll find at the very top a pan door. You'll also find emergency warning light, and then also at the very top you'll find a rear-facing scene light. As we look inside, you'll find hose storage location for your hard suction, and as we move to the very center, you'll find your traffic advisor at the top. Just beneath that, you'll find some warning labels here regarding do not ride on the rear of the apparatus or climb on it while it's in motion, in addition with an entanglement hazard. Because of those hoses coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. Directly in the center, you'll find your backup camera. Let's move downward from this location to the rear roll-up door with the insignia LT184. As we look inside, you'll find LED lighting and also a floor-mounted tray. The release mechanism for that tray is located on the right-hand side. Let's move all the way to the driver's side and identify at the very top the brake light, turn, and reverse, and also your lower rear warning light. You'll also find the driver's side scene light and also a rear scene light. Moving to the very top, you'll find your license plate holder, emergency warning light, which is your upper, and then also a rear-facing scene light. This vehicle is equipped with an exterior ladder. Be cautious of the moving parts. There is the possibility of pinch, and instructions are on the ladder for its operation. The next image will show the ladder in the deployed position. You can see it's been moved away from the rear exterior wall, and also the ladder is in the downward position. As we look to the hose bed, you'll find two hose bed dividers. First, starting on the left-hand side of the image, you'll start with the driver's side pre-connected 2.5 inch. Moving over to the right in the image, you'll find on the passenger side 2.5 inch pre-connect. Let's take a look at the side of the vehicle here. We're now on to the driver's side. Let's first start with a few warnings here regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle. As we move to the rear of the axle, you'll find your folding wheel chocks storage location. On those folding chocks, you'll find the bracket does have a release mechanism to allow the wheel chock to be pulled outward. Let's go ahead and move now through some of the items within the compartments. First, adjustable shelving and also LED lighting. In this compartment particularly, you have two vertical tool boards, and they do pull outward. As we move over the rear axle, you'll find a pull-out and tilt downward shelf. As we move now, you'll also find the ultra low sulfur diesel. It is the silver cap. As we move the lever to the downward position, it exposes the 8-gallon DEF tank and also an indicator for the amount in your DEF tank. Let's move just forward of this location where you'll find SCBA bottle storage. This is just in front of the rear axle. As we move now to the next compartment forward, let's start at the very top section of this compartment, housing both adjustable shelving and LED lighting. This is the location for your breaker panel. Let's first start down at the very bottom section. This is the continuous power supply. This is your generator, and you'll find on-off switches and breakers. You can see that this is clearly labeled. It is a Harrison 6 kW generator, and there's information regarding on the phase. You'll also find this meter regarding on the back wall of that same compartment. As we move to the pump panel area, you'll find first at the very top an indicator that your pump has been properly engaged from the cab. This light will be illuminating, indicating OK to pump. As we move downward into the gray area, you'll find two gauges here. First on the left, your master intake and master discharge. Located in between the two of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. Moving just to the right in the image, we'll find a few items here. First, your PCM fault with an amber indicator. Beneath it, you'll find the pump overheat indicator, which also is an amber indicator. In between the two of those, you'll find an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen that sound. Let's move downward from this location to the number 1 and number 2 crosslay. You can see they're color-coded and also labeled. As we move to the right, you'll find the driver's side 2.5 inch pre-connect, and then also the passenger side 2.5 inch pre-connect. We'll start with your pressure throttle governor. If illuminating, it would be a check engine light in yellow.
Moving to the right, if illuminated, you would find a stop engine light, which would be red in color. In the center, you'll find a digital readout for the RPM. Also moving downward, you'll find diagnostic engine information and also a pump temperature on the far right-hand side. Moving further down in the blue module area, you'll find your water tank level indicator, and moving to the right, you'll find a red silence button, allowing you to silence any audible alarms. Moving downward, you'll find a menu button in orange. This allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your pressure throttle governor. Moving down to the next section, you'll find pressure control or RPM control. Those are the two modes you have. Either illuminating pressure control or throttle control, you'll gain that through the blue push button, which will allow you to scroll through those different functions. Also moving just to the right, you'll find a throttle ready green indicator, and then further to the right, you'll find a green push button, which will be the preset if you choose to do any type of presets within your pressure throttle governor. Moving downward, you'll find your throttle. Move to the right to increase, move to the left to decrease. If you'd like to move back to the idle position, simply push in the center where it says idle. You'll also find a digital readout for information regarding all of your operations within your pressure throttle governor. Let's move downward to the next section. I'd like to cover this is your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 test pressures. On the left-hand side are the associated GPM, and on the right-hand side are the associated RPM. Your vehicle is governed at a governed speed of 2,400 RPMs, and this does also contain your 5-digit job number. Moving downward, you'll find your fire pump primer. We do have instructions here for at least 1,000 for best practices. And moving to the right, you'll find your passenger main inlet. This is an electronic valve. As we move downward from this location, you'll find your tank fill and tank to pump. Moving just to the right in the same vicinity, you'll find your recirculating line. This is a twist, not a pull. Moving further down, you'll find two electric valves. This is the driver's main inlet and also the large diameter passenger side discharge. You'll also find this warning label that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they've received proper training. You'll also find your primer drain and all your discharge drains across the very bottom. This is the remote for your master stream device, and you'll also find at the very top section here, this is the shadow controller for your light tower. As we move to that light tower instructions here, you'll find easy instructions on the left and right, and you'll also find a placard here for the light tower height, 13 feet, 6.75 inches. If you make any adjustments, please adjust this placard. You'll also find your TFT monitor control station on the left-hand side, and also a set of switches housing the driver's side and passenger side scene, rear scene, and also an air horn switch. Down at the very bottom, behind the pan door, you'll find your manual pump shift. This is a protected switch, but it does have an amber indicator when it's been activated. From this location, let's move back up to the crosslay area. We'll start at the very top, same configuration as the passenger side. First, you'll find the backboard and also your dead lay release mechanism. As we move downward, you'll find the number 1 and number 2 crosslay. You'll also find a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard because of those hoses coming from that location. This is just a quick image here inside that compartment showing the top location for your discharge for number 1 and number 2. This is the backboard storage location. Just next to it is the dead lay. As we move to the notched area, your plumbing area, we'll start with two 2.5-inch discharges. This is on the driver's side. You'll also find that warning label regarding the possibility of caps that may be under pressure, and it's a pressure warning hazard. You also find directly in the center your large diameter pump inlet and also an override at the very top. We also have a warning label regarding not riding on the side of your apparatus while it's in motion for fear of fall. Down at the very bottom, we do have all your color-coded and associated discharge drains. On the right-hand side of the pump panel, you'll find your air supply and also air line outlet. It is a twist, not a pull. In the very top section, as I mentioned earlier, this is your override for your large diameter pump inlet. Same configuration as the passenger side, you'll find a release mechanism for your fold-out step. As we move to the very top section, you'll find 2 storage compartments on the driver's side and then also 2 on the passenger side. These hatch compartments do have LED lighting inside and also dry deck material. Also moving to the passenger side, you'll find your equipment rack housing a variety of things. First with your 10-foot folding ladder. You also have long tool storage handled location, a 24-foot extension, and a 14-foot roof ladder. As we move to the compartments, you'll first start with your hatch compartments. Once again, LED lighting inside, dry deck material inside. This is in the open position from the rear and the front. You'll also find the diamonds located around the outer edge for firefighter safety. As we move to the dunnage, you'll find your Harrison generator. You'll also find your master stream device on the right-hand side. Let's take a look at some of those items. First, starting with your master stream device, it does have top remote control located at the very top. And as we move now to the front section of the cab, you'll find this is a non-walking surface. We do have some warning labels here for that. And then you'll also find your light tower located in the very center. As we move to the rear section of your apparatus, just a quick overview of the ladder and ladder rack, in addition with looking forward to the LED light bar and also air conditioning unit. Let's take a look back at the hatch compartment in the front area, passenger side, where you'll find your electrical cord reel which passes through into the compartment. Now we're moving over to the driver's side hatch compartment. I would like to point out the yellow diamonds. Those are indicating the walking area for firefighter safety. You also have 2 locations for access here into your hose bed cover. Congratulations, Goodyear, Arizona, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34327. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.